After the game, I saw everyone had their heads down, but McWatch was going around trying to cheer them up and giving them high five. And then he stayed a little bit longer to talk to Ralph, I believe. What can you say about his leadership? Because I know he's talked about confidence a lot, and I know he said it's kind of hard to talk to his younger teammates when, things are not going well.
Yeah, obviously, I think in my conversations with Keith and conversations with Quach so far, since all this began, you feel nothing but heartbroken for kids that don't get to play their senior year in the pit, don't get a senior night, all those kinds of things. And, his maturity and willingness to kind of work through that is, it says a lot about his character. I've had multiple meetings with him over the course of this year about kind of how sorry I am that this is kind of how it's laid out for him, because I think a lot of kids, that's what they look forward to. They kind of have a journey. They come to New Mexico to play in the pit. They think about their senior nights, all those kinds of things, and for it to kind of go the way that it has for him, and for him to act that way, you can't really say anything more about somebody's character. So I'm really proud to coach him. I'm really proud to be around him on a daily basis. And I think we're all grateful just to have him here as our lone senior. He's our guy that's kind of helping grow these young guys, and even in the face of some very difficult times.
Coach, I know I didn't get you the results that you wanted, but I was asking Emmanuel Quach about this, and I want to get your thoughts too. Just these two games, the assist numbers compared to the field goals that you guys have made. I mean, the ball was moving a lot more. And I mean, you're talking about assists on pretty much every made basket. Like, what was different in this series with UNLV as far as just being able to get the guys to move the ball around a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just knowing who you are. We've I hate to keep saying it. We started November 20th, so it's hard to know what these guys are. I think what your guys seeing with some of these players individually, we're seeing it for the first time too. This isn't like something that we've seen all along. We haven't had a lot of time with them. So, as we see these players, we adapt to their skills, we adapt to their numbers, and just kind of continually evolve. And this is where it's evolved to at this point, and I'm sure it's not over. So I've said it before. I make mistakes as a coach all the time. I just like to hope that we keep getting better. And, my first year here, I think I've said it, like, it took me some time to figure out who those guys were. And hopefully we're getting closer and closer every game to finding out who our guys are. And sooner rather than later, we'll get the right guys out there in the right package, in the right scheme, and be the best team we can be. But it's hard to kind of come up with those answers based on just kind of our situation.
Well, defensively,
go ahead, Jeff.
Well, both guys talked about the unfamiliarity of being in a close game, come down the stretch, and there's that saying about learning how to win, and Eman talked about that. What does it mean? Did you believe that you have to learn how to win, and if so, what does it mean to learn how to win?
I think in this game in particular, was the difference. And, you can get down to a possession or two here and there, but when you have the kind of lead like we had in that first half, and we're in control of the game, we're in control of the tempo of the game, and then you go 3, 4, 5 turnovers out of 6, 7 possessions, and then now all of a sudden they have a 4-point lead. To me, that's more pivotal than, the one possession with 50 seconds on the clock and a 2-point game. Those get magnified. But I think the runs, again, that we've had, particularly offensively, are what hurt us right now. We just go through these 4, 5, 6, 7 possessions of turnovers and really poor shot selection that get us. And yes, we want to be able to execute those key possessions down the stretch. But when you're up 6 as opposed to down 4, it's a completely different scenario. And we've just got to make sure each possession along the way, we don't let too many of them get away from us.
Paul, defensively, a couple questions here. One, that is the worst defensive efficiency that UNLV's had since the North Carolina game. They were a pretty good offensive efficiency-wise anyway, offensive team, and it wasn't even close. The North Carolina game and this game were their two worst performances by a pretty large margin. So, A, what did you do most of the game defensively that made that happen? And then B, the final 5 minutes really was really the only time Bryce Hamilton got off and got loose a little bit. Was that just him hitting shots because he's a good player, or did you guys trip up and fail to defend him the way you had been all the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think he's a great player, and I thought he made some really tough shots that weren't going in through the earlier parts of the game. I'd say I thought we defended them pretty well in game one. They had their starters in with 1:50 to go in a 20-plus point game last game. And I think if you look at even Jenkins and Hamilton in game one going into the last 4 or 5 minutes, I thought we did a pretty good job on them as well. They left those guys in there probably to maybe get some confidence, and it worked. And they, I think, finished game one statistically a lot better than maybe it was, I think, in the real heart of the game. So I felt like going into this, we could guard them. I think we have a very good defensive team if our offense stays the heck out of the way. And our offense, unfortunately, still tonight just couldn't quite let our defense be our defense. And not that our defense has been perfect this year by any means, but I think we have some ability on that side of the ball. We just have to find a way to find the right offensive group and game plan to give ourselves the best chance at victory. So, yes, I thought we did some good things defensively in game one and tonight. I think Hamilton's an amazing player. I think, a great player like that with the travels and the hooks and the carries and they're close. Like, do you make those calls or not? And he's very talented, so you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. And when a player of that ability is given a little bit of freedom like that offensively, they're a really hard guard. And we had good matchups on him. We had McQuatch on him. We put some good players on him, and he made some great plays.
Was anything to take from tonight? I mean, it's basically the moral victory question. I mean, this team needs a win. I get that. But this team probably also needed at least one of these too, right? I mean, a competitive road loss in a normal year, games like this happen and it's not the end of the world. This is just a culmination kind of loss. That can you take anything from tonight?
I can take anything in that I really felt like Saquon Singleton gave us 27 minutes of point guard play. And I've said this for a while. You can – when I have – I don't know what it is, and I've never researched other coaches, but when I have a good point guard, I'm a pretty good coach. And when we don't have one, I don't look very good as a coach. And I thought for 27 minutes tonight, Saquon Singleton gave us the best point guard play we've had this season. The other 6, he was just too tired. And I think he made some kind of fatigue plays, particularly in the second half. And we've got to find a way to get some better guard play to take the heat off him so that he can give us really good 26 or 27, and then we can put ourselves together a good 40. That, to me, was the most comforting thing. I thought Saquon's ability to manage the game for the first definitely half and his minutes in the first half when he was in, I thought was exceptional. And that's very, very comforting. I think our ability to guard, which I've always felt like we have revealed itself. And I think we're starting to buy into a little bit more who we are and understanding who we are. We probably thought maybe at the outset we had a little more talent at some individual positions offensively than we do. And we thought some guys maybe could make some shots or do some things that as this season has unfolded, we've realized just maybe they can't. And we've got to be a little bit more boring. We've got to be a little bit more deliberate. We've got to get these games in the 50s. Think we're finding that as well. So I don't believe in a moral victory, but I do believe that we're continuing maybe find some things to make us a better basketball team, and the guys are actually executing that. So losing sucks. That'll never change, but I do feel like our team is finding itself. It's becoming a more authentic version of who we need to be to win games.
Yeah, expanding on that a little bit, Coach. You just said it right there that maybe these lower scoring games might benefit you guys. So I mean, is it, certainly defense played better tonight, closing out and getting rebounds and whatnot. So I mean, is it a matter of slowing the game down and trying to cut down a number of possessions, or when you say that you want to keep these games around the score? I mean, is it just kind of look similar to what we saw tonight?
I think that's where we've been trending for sure. We have to be much more deliberate on offense. We have to be a lot more patient. We probably don't have the offensive skill that we had hoped for, and we've got to find some ways to move around. E-Man was a guy that was playing a certain position. It's taken a couple of weeks, but we've changed position. We've put him in a different spot on the floor. We're moving guys around trying to find some sweet spots to give us the best offensive team that we can. At the same time, not sacrificing our defense. I went back to some shorter substitution patterns tonight. We kind of were starting to stretch them out more for offense, thinking that if we play guys some longer stretches, maybe they get into better rhythm. And that hasn't turned out great either. So again, we're just chipping away here. And I think tonight obviously is where we're headed right now. It's going to continue to evolve. You know, we started through bigs for the first time. We started Saquon at the point guard for the first time. Like we're going to keep working through this as a basketball team, finding the best version of ourselves and hoping that along the way that will equate to victories.
We have time for one more.
Well, I don't need a long answer here, Paul, but just to clarify, E-Man not playing last Wednesday, was that just a position change or was there something else to that? Because he's been really good the 2 games since last Wednesday.
Yeah. So, you know, he was basically kind of a 4-5 for us. And after the last Utah State game, I just kind of sat down with him and said, it's going to take some time, but we're going to move you to the 3. It's a whole different kind of it's a different job description. And I thought it could be something that might give him a better role for us. He can shoot. We need some wing shooting. And it had a little bit to do with Valdir as well. I kind of felt like Valdir was starting to emerge a little bit, and I thought it would open up some opportunity for him. So it was kind of like, you got to get ready. I wanted to get him in the Dixie State game, and I told him that, like, if I could just get him a couple of minutes, but that first half didn't go great. So we just couldn't quite get him in there. And then the second half we were in it, and I didn't want to just throw him in there in the second half. So yes, it was a little bit, I told him a little bit of a temporary step back to hopefully find a long-term step forward for him.